All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Tucked In Wizards. This episode, we're going to be talking about Summer League Game 3. Mostly, honestly, going to be talking about Sarr and his offensive struggles for sure. I'm Aidan. I'm here with Ben. And I'm just going to start us right off here by, just jumping it into, Sarr, the big story out there. I watched this whole game, and honestly, I think the Sarr kind of mania is a little overblown. I've seen a lot of people freaking out, even Wizards fans freaking out, being like, oh, we drafted the wrong guy, all this, all that. And it's like, hey, this guy is one of the youngest guys in the draft. He's a really, really young, project player. We always knew he wasn't going to be coming out and immediately, dunking on people and shooting threes and, looking amazing. His game was always going to be based around the offense or the defensive side, which honestly last night I thought looked pretty solid. It wasn't amazing. I would definitely say it was probably his weakest defensive performance out of the 3 games, but he still had 3 blocks. He was still, deterring people from the rim. It just didn't really have as much of an impact this game as I would like it to. But I always expected this year to look really rough for Sarr offensively, and I think what a lot of people aren't really considering about these Summer League games is that he's playing out of position the whole time. He's not used to playing center. He's never played center before. He said himself, I'm not a center. It's the whole reason he didn't want to go to Atlanta, because he thought they wanted a center. So if we have our player not playing his regular position, looking uncomfortable in Summer League of all things, you would think that people would be like, oh, well, gotta wait a little bit. We don't really know what he's going to be yet. But I've just been seeing people all over social media, all over the news, just trash Sarr and be like, oh, he's James Wiseman, he wasn't the right number 2 pick, and it's like, we don't know any of that yet. We haven't seen him actually play basketball. He's going to have a whole 3 months to work on his game. He's going to have a whole offseason to actually, work with trainers, get the development up. And honestly, even if he still looks like this by the time the season comes, I'm not going to be that upset. We don't need him to be that crazy of an offensive player this year. He can just kind of back up our guys, play defense, learn the NBA, and go from there. And now if this is next year, and he's still looking like this, he's still having 0 of 15 performances with 0 points, that's really where things start to get concerning. But, Summer League just shouldn't really matter that much, good or bad. I think people always read too much into Summer League, and then it never really pans out the way that they think. Trae Young had a pretty bad Summer League. People were shitting on Trae Young the whole time, and look what he turned out to be. It's kind of a long rant, but either. No. He had a good Summer League, but not the first game. That long-winded rant was basically just to say, people are putting way too high expectations on Sarr way too early, and we just need to be patient and see what he can become. People aren't patient enough in the modern NBA. Things take time. He might not be a positive player until he's 21, 22, and that's just how things go sometimes. Some players take longer than others. In my opinion, Jokic was one of those players that took a little longer than some other players to really burst out on the scene or whatever, and he's, in my opinion, the best player in the league. It's just, and same with Joel Embiid, he took a while too, and he's up there as one of the best players. So just definitely a real lack of patience going on right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna put this in a view of the entire Summer League so far, because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't watch a ton of this game because the MLB All-Star game was on, and I had to watch CJ Abrams strike out on 3 pitches and then make a nice play at short. But I did watch some of this third quarter, and Sarr, his defense honestly looks fine. I've seen a lot of people saying oh, he looks lost out there, whatever. But it just seems to basic rookie struggles to me. Not everyone's gonna come out and be world beaters for day one. He still got 3 blocks, he got a steal, he was still guarding the perimeter decently well. He needs to, this is coming from the first 2 games as well, he just needs to cut back on the fouls, especially when he's guarding the perimeter, because he can't do it, he can't stay in front of people. It's just he reaches in, or he pushes them a little too much, or whatever. So I'm not worried about Sarr. He's not going 0-15 in an NBA game, I promise you. He's not even going to be taking that many shots. It's just Summer League, hey, keep shooting. What's that Dion Waiters quote where it's I'm glad I didn't go 0 for 8 instead of 0 for 30, because that means I lost confidence or something. So.
Yeah, he was I'd rather go 0 for 30 than 0 for 8. Ending the game 0 for 8, shows you lost confidence in your shot or whatever. And it's it's true. You just got to put it out there sometimes.
Wizards fans, let him figure it out. He came in projected. He is a very, very raw offensive player. Like, this was what the scouting report said. He did not know how to play offense, and he settled for threes too much. That's what the scouting report said. You got to look at the positives of the defensive side and hope that the coaching staff can kind of develop that offensive game.
Yeah, I think these 3 games shouldn't make Wizards fans more confident in Sarr to say, but I think it should be maybe a little hardening, because it's like, hey, these things were already here. We all knew this was already here before we drafted him. It's not like we thought he was going to be this guy and we drafted him and suddenly he's not. These were all things that the front office considered, weighed the pros and cons of, and went, you know what, this still makes this guy worth it at 2. And you know, like, development isn't linear. Maybe he has a really rough first year, and then the second year he figures everything out, or maybe, like, it doesn't matter. I think it's tough to evaluate young players until, like, the 3rd or 4th year, which I'm guilty of doing. Johnny Davis.
I do want to harp on that when you're done. The Johnny
No,
Davis.
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I see a lot of people comparing one to James Wiseman, which I don't even remember James Wiseman's summer league, so I can't even comment on that. But 2 is the Wizards fans saying, like, oh, this is worse than Johnny Davis. Johnny Davis showed us absolutely nothing that first year. There was not a single ounce of that game when I was watching, and I'm not trying to, like, super hate on Johnny Davis, because I think he actually developed pretty well for what he was in that first summer league year, but there was literally nothing there. It was like, oh wow, you knew right away. It was like, this guy can't play.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Sarr, it's like, you see the defense. He got 9 rebounds this game. I don't know if those were like free rebounds, or I seen him got a couple of them. I doubt he was fighting for them, but that's better than what he got, like 2 last game. So he's rebounding the ball in this one anyway. And I don't know. I think the hate is a little overblown, and it's probably also getting there because he was the number 2 pick and he kind of forced his way to DC. So there's a little bit of hate from some other fan bases.
Yeah, I think it's all just so overblown because people just have nothing to pay attention to in the NBA, so they're just like overreacting to summer league. It happens every year. I looked up James Wiseman. He just had like a normal summer league. He was like 13 points a game, like a couple rebounds, a couple assists. Like, he didn't show anything crazy. It didn't seem like he was going to be a bust. And that's the thing, like, the worst busts don't come out and have these disaster games like this. Like, the worst busts in the world come out and, like, are just mid for the first little bit. Like, they're really mid in summer league. And then
Trae Young was terrible in summer league. Yeah,
that too. And really good players can be really terrible. And like you said, like, I'm just glad he didn't stop shooting. I'm glad he didn't get in his head. I actually want to talk a little bit about what Will Dawkins was saying about him. They had him on the broadcast for a little bit to have a like little mini interview, and he was saying like kind of the same things we've been saying, where he was like, hey, like, this is what's expected. He's going to be a rough offensive prospect. He didn't say rough offensive prospect, obviously, but he was like, he's insanely talented defensively. He was like, one thing I thought was interesting is Will Dawkins was talking about how he can grab rebounds effectively, and I was like, right now he can't. But maybe, you know, he's looking in the future like, okay, this guy's so big, we can get him to that position. And him saying that to me is like, okay, well, that's him identifying a major part of his game is going to have to be rebounding, so they're going to have to get him there, which is good. But he was mostly talking about, like, you know, none of this is a surprise. This is all what they expected from the beginning. So, you know, this is all just part of the process. We're a tanking team. This is year 2 of the rebuild. It's going to be rough. Our young players are going to look pretty bad. Yeah, exactly. Basically year 1. With all these, we're finally getting like promising young prospects. Do you have anything else to say about Sarr, or do you think we should move on to some of the others?
About Sarr, no. I do see that Bub Carrington had his first 20-point game. I know I missed the end of this game. So did you watch the end? So can you walk me through what happened at the end? Because I know Bub Carrington pretty much almost made a comeback by himself.
Yes, I really want to talk about Bub, because this game was, to me, the most impressive Bub Carrington game that doesn't really show up as much on the stat sheet, even though he had 20. He had such a interesting game because the first bit he was really like struggling to put it together, especially in the first quarter. There was one point he was like 0 for 5, 0 for 6. Him and Sarr were both like 0 for 6. I was like, oh, this looks really bad. But just watching the game, like, he didn't look like he was 0 for 6 out there. He was still comfortable shooting. He was still distributing the ball. He was playing defense. He was cutting. He's doing all the things that I had expected from him through these first couple games. And then the second half is really where he picked it up and started really turning it around. And yeah, towards the end, I'm pretty sure he missed the go-ahead shot to send it to OT. But he had like a stretch where he was completely controlling the game, and just like pretty much putting the team on his back. Which to me, the fact that you can do that in any situation, even Summer League, is like that speaks a bit further, I think. I don't want to be one of those guys that overreacts to all the Summer League performances, like I was just talking about with Sarr. But to me, the key parts of Bub's game that I've been seeing him showcase throughout Summer League are all things that I think can translate pretty easily over to the NBA. You know, like he's skilled. He's a skilled three-point shooter. He's a skilled distributor. He's good at communicating with his teammates. He's solid on defense. He's a big guy, so he can, at least be a big body there. And like just the ability to generate offense and generate those shots in a clutch situation like that, even in Summer League, to me is a big positive. Because it's like, if you have a guy that's not afraid of the limelight like that, he's not afraid to take the ball at the highest moment, and even if he fails, at least go out there and try. To me, that's super, super encouraging.
Yeah, it is kind of funny being like the Wizards. They have like the two sides of the like Summer League, where you have the one guy who looks really, really good and the one guy who looks really, really bad, and you really just can't overreact to like any of those.
No. I still think Bub's going to be a backup. But I'm confident that he'll be able to play out the year, I think. I don't think he's going to be sent to the G League or anything. Like,
no,
I think Keyshawn George might, but I don't think Bub will.
I honestly don't even think Keyshawn George will. I think Keyshawn George
either.
will show enough where he could stay on the floor. He got 7 rebounds this game. I'm more and more I'm thinking Brogdon's going to stay on the team.
At least
he was interviewed. I know they like Poole at point guard, but he's like a little small, so I don't know exactly what they're doing. I wonder if Bub's going to play the 2, because the stretch I did watch of this game, Bub had some nice plays from the 2 position. I think he was playing with Marquise Noel, and he had some nice catch and shoot. He had a nice catch and shoot threes, and he played a little off ball. So he's kind of a combo guard. I think we're gonna.
I definitely agree that he maybe could be a combo guard. I don't know if he is quite there yet, but I definitely think that's something that he could grow into. Especially because like he doesn't need the ball in his hands at all times like some point guards do. He's a good cutter. He's good at getting open. He's a really good screener, or like he's good at communicating when he wants to screen and hand off and stuff. So he's good at like getting the ball into his hands, but he doesn't need to get the ball into his hands. So I definitely think he could play the 2 position, especially as a backup for a little bit. And honestly, even if they want to run Poole at the 2, they can maybe do it. I don't think they will, because he definitely needs the ball in his hands more. But
yeah, I didn't like Poole at the 2 when they showed it last season.
I'm a bit conflicted because I would like Brogdon around, because he would be a really good role model for Bub and like honestly help Poole a lot, because he's really good at like contributing when his shot, even when his shot's not falling and stuff. But I really do want to start Poole, just because like we're really heavy tanking this year. So if we're gonna see something out of Poole, I think it should be this year. But I'm not going to be mad if we keep him and then we trade him at the trade deadline or something, or even just keep him around for a while like we did with Tyus. Like, I don't think it really makes a huge difference. I'd rather get some development for our young guys rather than like 1 second or something for Brogdon.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I noticed Vuk didn't play this game, which is a little unfortunate. We had a few bench guys with the highest plus-minus, John Butler and Taylor Funk. Taylor Funk actually, again, looking at the box score, he went crazy. 14 points, 4 of 8 from 3. Like, impressive stuff from him. Champagny had another good game. Champagny's I feel like Champagny's showing that he's deserves a roster spot.
I've been very impressed by Champagny, especially this last game. Like, his shot wasn't amazing.
Somewhere.
He shot like 50%, which is fine. But his ability to contribute, I was super impressed with, because like he was always in the right position when the play broke down. He was always there for a dump pass. He was always ready to get aggressive when he had a mismatch. Like he was just playing the game really intelligently, which I always love to see. So I would be happy if he could make the roster. I think he could definitely be a good backup. But we kind of have a lot of guys that we got to play, so we'll see how it goes. I hope he can at least make it though. And Funk, I'm not.
He's not going to make a roster, but he had a good game.
He had a good game. He had a good game for sure. But the problems that he showed in the past 2 games were still here. He was not passing.
Yeah.
And it's like, if it goes down, it's fine. But as a guy like that, when you're that young and unproven, maybe it's because it's Summer League and he just wants to showcase himself. But he really was not sharing the ball. And I want to highlight one of these guys. He didn't have that good of a game on the box score, but he was really, all of the shots he made were really timely, and I was really impressed with a lot of the plays he was making. It was Jules Bernard. He actually, I thought, had a really good game, even though he only had 7 points. He had one really big three, and like he was really just playing his role really well, I think, just kind of being a good 3-and-D guy. We'll see if he can translate that to the real NBA.
Yeah,
and
Jules Bernard.
I was also pretty impressed with Keyshawn George, even though he didn't have that big of a game. Just his defense was really strong. There were a couple things that I was a little not in love with him that I've seen a little bit. Just like he had a couple passes where he kind of threw it out of bounds, was trying to do a little too much. It just seemed like he was trying to do a little too much on offense sometimes when he got the ball. But when he was just catch and shoot 3-and-D, I was really impressed with his performance.
Hopefully that'll be his role going forward. Do you want to talk about the Blazers a little bit? I know Donovan Clingan had a really good game.
Yeah, sure.
Not shooting wise, but on the defensive end. And I don't think that should be a surprise to people. It will be because, again, Clingan went 7 and Sarr went 2. But Clingan's 2 years older. Yeah. He has his NCAA experience. He should be better right now. We're just kind of hoping that Sarr can develop. Sarr's projected skill set, I think, will be more valuable to NBA teams than Clingan's, because we see Sarr can handle the ball in the open floor, which is honestly pretty impressive. Clingan did hit a 3 today, though.
No, yeah, that 3 was really good. I was very impressed by Clingan. I was always pretty high on Clingan. Like in our mock draft, I had him number 1. I thought he could go to Atlanta. And I didn't take too much stock into his rough start for the Summer League. The biggest thing I noticed with Clingan was, like, whenever he matched up against Sarr, it was very clearly a center facing a non-center. Like, he was just dunking it over him, hooking it. Like, Sarr just really had trouble stopping him, which is a little concerning because he has to guard those guys later. But again, it's Summer League. We'll see how it goes later. But I definitely think Clingan's going to be a productive player. I think he's going to be good for the Blazers. Like you said, though, I definitely think Sarr's projected skill set is more valuable to NBA teams than Clingan's. But we'll see how it goes. That's usually not really indicative of which player is going to be better.
No, not at all. Do you have anything else to say about the Blazers? I see Bryce McGowan's got to the line 11 times. I keep seeing, every time I look at these box scores from when we watch the game and then we go to the box score, I see like some dude that was drafted in 2020, 2021 that is like on a new team trying to make a name for himself. And Bryce McGowan's, he was pretty bad for Charlotte, and now he's in Portland Summer League system. And he looks like a pro, but again, when you're drafted like a few years ago, you should kind of look like a pro, I feel like, at this point. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have much to say about the Blazers, honestly. Like, this game was kind of weird because neither team really impressed me that much. Like, and the Blazers didn't really have any of their young guys out there. It was just Clingan.
Yeah.
So it's like there wasn't really too much to read into the Blazers. And like, the only thing I thought was kind of funny about the Blazers was they had a Toumani Camara interview. And like, all of the Blazers fans behind him were like, Toumani! And like going crazy. Like, they love him. I was like, damn, I didn't realize Toumani was loved like this.
Yeah, I watched a few Blazers games last season, and Toumani, he was pretty good, honestly. Like,
yeah. I think he plays the way that fans really like.
Right?
Like, he plays really hard and like puts his heart out there, and like those guys always get loved by the fans, like Marcus Smart type players.
Yeah. Alright, we can wrap this one up here. When's the next game? The last game,
should
right?
be
Sacramento.
tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow, Sacramento. And then I guess there will be a fifth game.
Yeah.
Because the Wizards are not going to make the Summer League playoffs.
No.
Unfortunately, with this loss. So they will not be the greatest Summer League team ever.
Nope.
But that said, though, thanks for watching again. Leave a comment telling us what you think about Sarr. What else? Should we have DG take us out?
All right, DG, take us out.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy DG. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Nothing major. We hitting the wizard bed tonight, baby. Let's get it, Gafford out.